Monsters, how's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is fabulous. So, in today's fabulous tutorial, we are going to be doing our acrylic pour. We are going to be making this little bad boy right here. I know you can't see it because of the glare, sorry guys, but we're going to be making this little bad boy. How cool did this come out, right? With all the cells and, I mean, I just think it really came out cute for like my first time. ¿Verdad, mijo? I know, it was my first time and it came out really cute. So I'm kind of satisfied with that. And we're going to go ahead and let this little bad boy dry because it is still kind of wet in the middle. You can totally tell. And I don't want to really move it too much, but I do want to show you guys how I did this little bad boy. And I did get inspired. I got inspired a lot by 3 artists on YouTube. One by the name of Gina DeLuca. Second one is Priscilla Batzel. And the third one is John Beakley. Yeah, John Beakley. And the reason why these 3 artists are the ones that really stand out to me is because I could really relate to a lot of the way that they paint. They're not colorblind, obviously, but you know, I could relate in the sense of the way they feel about the painting and all that stuff. I kind of like been dabbling in painting, but I mean, for years already. I've done like a whole entire bedroom of like SpongeBob, which from wall to wall was a whole entire scenery of SpongeBob and all the characters, and then I made it look like it was like the ocean and then the sky on the very top, the ceiling, like the whole entire room. I painted it and I did everything by hand. I've also done like argyle walls, like by hand with the tape and all that. I've done so many different things, and so I've always dabbled in painting, but I really wanted to put some of the paintings in an actual canvas, and so this is where I kind of started thinking about why don't you just start kind of like dabbling in that and see what happens. And so I started dabbling, and this is what happens, and I really like how this came out, and I really do want to kind of do some other paintings too, and so I hope you guys are up to seeing some of those videos as well, because they're going to be coming up. And so let's not waste any more time, guys, because I know you guys want to get down and dirty, boo-boos. So let's get down and dirty, and I will see you guys in a bit. Alrighty then, my little crafty monsters, let's get started on this little bad boy. We are going to level this by putting some C-hooks on the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and just adjust them to where everything is leveled. And then once you get that leveled, go ahead and spray the back with some water and some in the corners so that the canvas starts to get tight. And this is the paints that we will be using, as well as some different types of acrylic paints and a Floetrol. I did put out the silicone, but we will not be using silicone. You will need a spatula and your blowtorch. If you don't have a blowtorch, honestly guys, no big deal. That's really just so that it pops all the bubbles and all that stuff. But anywho, now let's get started with mixing our paints. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a scale, and we have it on the fluid ounces. And I'm doing 2.0 ounces of Floetrol in each cup. And then in each cup, I'm just adding 0.50 ounces of paint. And the reason why I'm saying them like that is because that's the way it's going to show on your guys' scale, if you guys are using a scale. So anywho, if not, what you want to do is you want to just make sure that when you are mixing this, because this ratio basically is 4 to 1, so it'll be 4 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint, and that's the way I have these mixed. And the reason why is because you want it to be pretty liquidy, where you're letting the paint fall off of your mixing stick, and it should basically kind of cause a little mount and then disappear pretty quick. And so that's the consistency that we're trying to look for when we're doing the mixing of the paints. So right here I'm just explaining to you guys what I'm mixing. This is the gold, and we're on all the paints. We are just going to mix in a 0.50 ounces of paint to each cup, and each cup had 2.0 ounces of
a Floetrol. And so just go ahead and mix all your paint, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my little water mix, and I'm doing 1 part Floetrol to 6 parts water. And this will be if I need to kind of thin out the paint any bit more, because sometimes as the paint is sitting there it will kind of thicken a little bit, so you kind of want it to stay the consistency that you want it to be so that it'll flow a lot easier. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that into a little squeeze bottle like I did, and that'll be offhand if I need to mix in any kind of water. This is my base paint, and the base paint that you're going to be adding onto your canvas should be a lot thinner than the paints that you are going to be pouring on top of that. And the reason why is because the thinner the paint is, the easier your paint's gonna flow when you start to tilt it. And right here you see me adding that little Floetrol water mixture. And that's just to kind of thin it out, but you don't want to add straight water because then that just messes up, it just messes everything up. It's better if you just add a little bit of Floetrol to your water so it's just not straight water. And right here I'm just checking all the consistencies of all of my paints. They all have to be the same, and if they're not, I'm just adding a little bit of that Floetrol water, and they're all ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start painting, but I'm going to go ahead and do this in slow-mo. So the process is a little bit easier for me to explain it to you. So we're going to go ahead and start pouring our paint into our main cup, which is going to be the cup that we're going to flip on this little canvas. You guys are going to watch me flip this. Oh my god, it's going to be so hilarious. Here it comes, guys. So do I hear some drum rolls? Because it's going to come. It's going to come. And so we're just putting on our gloves because we don't want a little messy hands. And we're going to have some gloves offhand too, because, you know, I'm going to be changing up my gloves every time I do a step, because I just, you know, you get full of paint on your fingers, and instead of me rinsing them, I just was taking them off and switching them. That was probably a lot of gloves. I mean, it was only 3 pairs I used, but that's probably a lot. Anyhow, so I'm just taking out the little stir sticks from each one of these little paints, because once I start pouring it in that main cup, I don't want it to mess up. And so, or fall onto that other cup and make a big old mess. And I'm just putting these aside. You could save them, just let the paint dry completely. And then you could definitely use them as stir cups again. That paint is permanent, so it won't come off on your other paints. And so what you can do here is start to pour your paint. And so I want to start with a little bit of the red. And in the order that you guys pour this, it really doesn't matter, guys. I mean, it's just all to your taste. Honestly, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I was like, okay, well, red. And then we'll see. I had to keep them in their same location, because then like that I would know what I was using. So I knew that, you know, I grabbed the white one, and then I grabbed the blue one, and I think we had a aqua one, and then the yellow one, and then the red one. So I had to keep them in the same place so I knew what I was adding. But you could put the paint in any order that you guys want. It doesn't necessarily have to have an order. It's just pour it, guys. Just pour it. And I try to put a little bit of white in between some of the colors, because I do want, you know, it to kind of spread out. And I kind of figured that the white would also lighten the color that it's touching on certain spreads when it was spreading. So that's the way I was going. And I kind of am going to be filling up this cup completely, because we will be tilting it onto our canvas. Now, just note that we are preparing this cup before we put the base coat onto our canvas, because if we did that now and then we started to pour these paints, that paint on the canvas would start to dry, and then you would still have the risk of the paint not flowing as nicely as you would like it to flow. So right here, all we're doing is just doing the same thing. We're just layering these paints, and I'm just alternating from paint, and then I'm kind of like just switching it up kind of a little bit. Jesse really doesn't know what he's doing, but he's just going with the flow. Just go with the flow, boo-boos. I kind of thought, what if we would do this on some canvas paper? Because they do sell that. Like, the painting paper. And we do that. Do one of these little pours on it. Let it dry completely. And then we just cut those up and use them as a mat for like a card or something. Maybe like a birthday card, an invitation or something. I think it would be really cute. Because the way that the cells work and everything, oh my god, it came out really nice. I was pretty satisfied. You guys are going to see. It's going to be amazing. On that part, when I'm doing the actual pouring and the way we tilt and all that, you guys are going to notice it's going to be crazy. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just keep adding all of my colors until it's at the very, very rim of that cup. So I know that I have enough. This might have been a little bit too much paint, but you know what? It was my first time. As I do them more and more, I'm going to notice that I'm going to know how much paint, to use for a canvas size. But for this one, I just thought, hey, that's what works. And so now that we have our little cup ready, we're going to go ahead and put it to the side. And then we are going to go ahead and bring that canvas in. And then we're going to go ahead and there's my tattooed arms, guys. And then we're going to go ahead and add our little base coat onto this canvas. And I want to be pretty generous on this because I want the paint to flow. I'm trying to do this to where I am not going to have an epic fail because I'm not going to fail on my first try. And so go ahead and just pour your paint, which is supposed to be a lot thinner than your actual paint that you're going to be pouring, if that makes any sense. Yes, it does. It makes sense in my head. So go ahead and just add that. I'm kind of adding it a little bit more to the edges because I want it to flow a little off the edges so that when we tilt our paint, the paint will also flow off of the edges pretty easily. And now we're going to go ahead and just bring out our little spatula. And the little spatula, we're going to go ahead and spread all of this little bad boy all over this. It's like you're spreading the mayonnaise on the bread. Some of you guys probably don't even eat mayonnaise, so you're probably like, ew, Jesse. But just spread that little bad boy. Okay, well, spread butter on your bread. Everybody likes butter, don't give me that. So go ahead and just spread this, and I want it to be pretty thick and I want it to be pretty flowy because like I said, I want it to make sure that my paint is gonna flow off of this canvas, and I'm kind of just trying to spread it to where it's a little even. I do got a lot of paint on this canvas, but it's okay. It just means that it's going to take a lot longer to dry, but it'll dry. It'll be all right. And so I'm going to make sure that I go ahead and get that on the very edges so that it'll flow off of that. And I'm going to do that all around the whole entire canvas. And then I'm just going to go ahead and keep spreading this. And I am going to kind of drop some off of the edges like I am right here. And that's just so that I don't have so much of the white paint on there, but you do want kind of enough. So now, after we got all of this spread and everything, we will kind of let it sit for a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over the cup and then flip the cup with that. Oh my God, it's going to be a complete mess. You guys are going to be like, what? No, it actually worked out pretty good, guys. Don't worry. It was good. It was good. And so that's what we're going to do in a bit. So now let's go ahead and, well, I'm probably changing my gloves because, probably not. All right, guys, this is the moment of the truth right here, boo-boos. We're going to go ahead and try to flip this over on this cup, and then we're going to just flip it upside down. I'm going to go ahead and try to center this little bad boy. I know I'm off camera, but trust me, guys. I wanted to make sure that I got this little bad boy and there was enough room when I flipped it. So now I'm just putting my hand over and then we're flipping completely. We lost a little bit of paint there, but just don't worry about that because all of that canvas is going to be covered with paint. So now I'm just going to go ahead and lift my little cup and let all of those colors and let all of that paint just start to flow to wherever it's going to go. I know that my canvas is pretty leveled on all ends, so it's gonna basically just stay right there in the middle. But now you could see that some of those cells are starting to open. You could see the colors underneath that are kind of starting to pop out like little bubbles, and those are the cells that are kind of getting created. So now I'm gonna just start tilting. Some people are gonna be like, Jesse, you're losing some of the cells by tilting, but trust me, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna go ahead and try to pop the bubbles on this little base coat where it's gonna start to flow onto, and then a little bit on the top, and then that's gonna just cause more cells to open up and all those little air bubbles to pop on this little bad boy. Now we're gonna go ahead and just tilt this little bad boy. Let's just have fun with it, because I mean, this is our first painting and we just don't care, little boo-boos. If we F it all up, well then we F it all up. We have 5 more canvases to go. But if we get a pretty good painting, that would be completely awesome. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start tilting. My goal right here is I want to tilt it to where the paint will start to flow to each corner. But I'm kind of tilting, and then I kind of bring it back, and then I go a different direction, and then I bring it back. And what I'm doing is I'm trying not to lose all of those cells. I am going to lose a few of them, because those ones on the end, well, let's just be realistic. Those are basically going to fall off of our canvas once we tilt it, which is all right. It's okay. It's our first painting, guys. Don't cry. And so we're going to go ahead and just keep tilting this little bad boy. And like I said, I want to get the paint to each of these little corners, but I don't want to lose or make mud, as a lot of painters say. But then again, Jesse's colorblind, so if he makes mud, at what point do you think he's gonna realize he's making mud? Exactly. So if we're already making mud, I'm sorry, boo-boos. We'll just call it the swampy picture. But if it isn't, then you should be seeing all of those colors. Because like I added the aqua, and I added the yellow, and we added some red, and we added some blue, and we added some gold and stuff like that. And so you're going to see a lot of these colors obviously mixed with each other as well, and created another color itself. It was like they got married. The two colors married each other. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and go for it and kind of spread it to where it's going to go to the ends. And then once it hits that corner, I'm just going to try to bring it all back. Now, more cells are going to form once I let this rest a little bit. And there is a chance that it is going to change once it's all dried, but it's okay, guys. It's okay. So now that we got on those two ends right there, we're going to go ahead and try to do it the same thing on the other ends. Now, you want to take your time when you're doing this, my little crafty monsters. You don't want to go too quick, because you don't want to lose some of those cells that have already formed in the middle of that painting. And even some of the ones that are going to kind of fall off of that edge, you don't want to lose those. Those are, I know that you can't really see it too much on the camera, but it looks pretty in person. It looks like a bunch of different shades. So anyway, go ahead and cover your whole canvas, and once you got that little bad boy done, you should just put it down and leave it to rest. And then, like I said, more cells will kind of pop out once it's already resting. Come on, little bad boy. You're the last corner. You always have to be the one to take the longest, huh? And then all I'm going to do now is just kind of try to bring that all back to the middle. And it's stretching the ends, which are kind of making like these awesome little designs, which I really liked. I actually like it. So I'm going to just leave it right there. And we're just going to go ahead and let it rest. I'm going to also kind of like, with my finger, just run it on the very bottom part of the canvas. That's for all of the paint that's kind of dripping. let's go ahead and use our little blowtorch to pop out any little bubbles that are there, and then any little cells that want to be formed, they could just go ahead and start getting formed. Right there, there's a big glob of kind of a white with other colors underneath it right here. And so when I was hitting it with that blowtorch, it was actually opening up some of those little colors underneath right there. So I put a little extra. I really like how this came out. Honestly, to me, it looks really good. And it's my first one, so I mean, like, hey. So he's happy. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, like I said, I just want to go ahead and make sure that all of the paint that's dripping in the bottom is not really too drippy. And I want to make sure that all of the corners and all the sides of the canvas are actually covered and painted, and if they're not, you can just go ahead and use your finger to cover that. You can pick up some paint from the very bottom of the canvas where it's dripping, and you can go ahead and just cover up the sides of that canvas wherever it doesn't have paint. If some of the corners are not painted and you could see the white of the canvas, go ahead and, like I said, use your finger to fill that in. There is no right or wrong way, as I noticed with all of the painters. Most of all the painters, what they do is they're like experimenting. They're just playing with the paints. And what happens is that when they play with the paints and they experiment, things are created, and then that's when they have a masterpiece, which that's all it is, guys. It's just going out there and playing with some paint. And then once you play with some paint, create some masterpieces. Also, how cute would this be, right? If you guys make a little painting for like above your bedroom, your bed, or maybe like for a bathroom or any kind of room in your guys' house. I know that I'm using some of these little bad boys for my home. I don't know about this one. I will use more of colors that I have, in my home, in my decor. But or maybe I would use this one. I mean, I don't know. It is kind of cute. But anyway, how cute would that be though, right? To go ahead and make a painting, and then you are able to hang that up in one of your walls in one of your homes, your rooms in your home. Just can't even talk. Just hang it up in your room, boo-boo. And just admire it. That was your work, boo-boo. I'm actually pretty proud of this little bad boy. I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of more of the torch, because I did see a few bubbles kind of trying to pop out, and I want those to get out right now before the paint starts to settle and starts to really kind of like crust. It doesn't really crust. That was just a baker's term. Sorry guys, this is not frosting, Jesse. This is not frosting. But anywho, it does kind of start to dry on the very top anyway, so you kind of want to prevent that from looking like little craters in your painting. So you want those bubbles to pop now, and then the paint will seal itself again. And how cool is that, right? I really love how this little picture came out. And it was super easy, guys. I know that I say that about a lot of projects, but I'm being serious. This was easy. You guys saw it. The only hard part was flipping that cup, because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna make a mess. And I didn't make as big of a mess, but it was kind of a tiny little mess. You guys saw we lost some paint, but you guys should really try it. It's a lot of fun, guys. I guarantee you'll like it.
Welcome back, my little crafty monsters. Yeah, bobos. I'm really excited how this little bad boy came out. He really came out pretty cute. I really do like the little colors. For some reason, some of these colors, they just remind me of a unicorn. They really do. Maybe we'll put a unicorn decal in the middle. How about that, huh? Anywho, yeah, so that's not my only painting. I've had other epic fails. So this is one of my other ones that I had made. But this one's kind of like old. But this is my new thing, is I really love how the Floetrol makes all of those cells, and every single one of those artists that I have followed, they've always used a lot of the Floetrol. If you want
the cells to kind of form. It basically makes the cells form, which was a thing that I really, really liked. I like the fact that, you know, you see all one color, and little by little you start seeing all these cells popping up and all these different color cells, because it's the color underneath that one that's popping up, that I really, really liked. And so yeah, I don't really, the pouring medium, I do like the pouring medium, but the pouring medium, I believe, in my opinion, because like the way it worked for me, or maybe it was the way I mixed it, but it was more of a smoother kind of like pour. They didn't really sell too much. It's just that the colors like flowed really nicely. It really looks really nice. I really like the pouring medium. But if you want cells and you don't want to really use that silicone, the way that a lot of the artists out there on YouTube are doing it is with that Floetrol and a little bit of water. And so that's how you kind of like mix those paints. And you could basically mix any kind of paint. You could mix, like you guys saw me, I used that little Craftsman paint, the gold one, and it worked perfectly because you can see the gold. Like there's gold little cells. These little cells are gold. And I know that you can't really see them, but they have kind of like a little shimmer to them because it's gold. And so you could use any kind of acrylic. It's just really the consistency. Mexico couldn't say it. The consistency on how that paint is. So you want it to be liquidy, but not too liquidy to where it's going to be a mess. And then all the colors are really going to blend and stuff like that. You want them to still have a little bit of body so they can hold themselves, and it's basically you're layering those paints, and all the paints have to be the same consistency. Now the bottom base coat, I don't know that bottom base coat, that one was basically a lot thinner than the way you want your paints, because you don't want your base coat to be as thick as the paint is, because it's not going to travel. The paint's not going to move as easily. So if it's a little bit thinner, the way, you know, I've seen a lot of YouTubers do it, and that's the way we did it. It helps the paints move. And so it was a lot easier, and that's how you guys saw this painting get done. So anywho, guys, you guys are going to see some more videos because I had a lot of fun making this little bad boy. And I'm definitely going to do some abstract painting myself too, because I'm going to put my emotion in that brush, and I am going to just express it with some color. That's what we're going to do, boo-boo. So stay tuned for those, my little crafty monsters. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little icon. It's the picture of moi. And then we become BFFFs, because BFs is good, but BFFs is better. And I know you guys want to be my BFFF. So go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. And also, since you're there, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and also hit that little bell icon, because you guys don't want to be missing out on some fabulous tutorials. So definitely hit those little two bad boys right there. And that's it for now, my little crafty monsters. Until next time, bye.